Hello, I'm Cyberax with Outlandishly Crafted, and today we're talking animation blocks. So we're going to talk about how to animate all of those blocks you want to animate with an atlas. So let's get started with some examples. We've got some flowers right off the bat. You can see these flowers are doing their thing. They're just animating and doing it on their own. They are blocks. They're just the normal flowers. Lily of the flower, whatever. I've just changed them out with different stuff. And they look pretty other than that line at the top. We'll talk about that in a minute. Not too shabby. Get those dandelions and they just kind of wave in the wind a little. So that's how that works. Let's look at something that's more blockish. How about a smoker that when you put the beef in it, it turns on and cooks the food? Look at how beautiful that looks. You can do pretty much anything with it. You could add more to it. You could do on and off. You could do all of the different things that have blocks. You can do them on different sides. So many options. And as always, if you go and you take it out, turn that fire off, let it burn out, then it will burn out and the food disappears off of it as soon as the fire goes out. So it kind of gives you an idea of what we're talking about today. We are doing block animations. You could also use this for the fire, the flames. You can see those have been changed. Water uses an atlas. Just countless things. Anything you want that's a block and you want to animate it, you can animate it. You can have the sands animate. We've done that. You can have the leaves animate. We've done that. You can have anything you want out there. And let's get started with how do you do it. So let's jump out of the game, and right off the bat, let's look at what the files look like that we're using for an atlas. So here's the off texture for the block for the smoker, and then here's the on texture for the smoker, and you can see that it's just one picture after one picture after one picture, and each picture they move just like a traditional GIF file. And I actually made these by hand in Photoshop and Illustrator because I did not know about this nifty website. Easy GIF has the ability to take a video that you get, make sure it's your video and you have rights to it, and you can make it into a GIF, and then you can resize it and optimize it and crop it and make it what you want. And then you come over here to split and you put that GIF and it makes a sprite sheet. So to do that, you're going to upload your GIF file, you're going to click vertical, you're going to set what the resolution per frame is, and then you're going to convert the sprite sheet. And it might fail once or twice. It typically will give you an error once or twice. And then this is what you're going to download and use as your texture. And the only thing that you really need to know about this file is how many frames there are. So how many of these different frames, because we're going to need to know that in the next step. And so right here it says there's 23 frames. Typically you want to be in the 20s. That's 1 to 2 seconds of animation depending on how fast you're playing it. So that's not a bad place to be. You could go up to 50s for some of them if you want more detail like the plants and stuff, but it is going to add to your texture RAM consumption, and there is a maximum. So 23 is what we got. So now we're going to jump over into, I'm using Bridge version 1. You can do this in whatever you want. And let's look at in blocks. We have the smoker set up here, and we have a lit smoker set up here. So all we're going to do is we're editing on the east side. You could do this on all sides, but I'm only doing it on one side, the smoker front on texture. And how that works, sorry. Let me drink some water. How that works is over at the flip book textures. You can get this out of vanilla or you can make your own. We have set up in here that texture. So we have the texture that we're using. We have the atlas title, which is what this block's name is. So you go into blocks and you find If you want to use yellow flower, then you want to grab this name, yellow flower. If you want to use the water, then you get the water. If you want to use the smoker lit or smoker, you could have the smoker unlit steaming. You'd have the blaster steaming unlit, whatever you want. All of the blocks are in here. All of them are listed. You grab what you want. I want to animate the web. Then you animate the web. You want to animate the torch. Anything you want in here you want to animate, you grab out the name so I know what it is. Keep in mind that water has a whole bunch of different options. But you could do flowing water, you could do dirt, you do whatever, and you're going to throw that in the Atlas title right here. Now, it is important that when you're doing stuff like flowers, that you have to do each of the different types of flowers. So there's a whole bunch of variety and variants of the flowers. If you're going to animate them or you just want to animate one, you can't just say yellow flower. You got to say the individual flowers that are being done. If you just say yellow flower, it's going to add an animation to all of them. And what will happen is when you're walking up to it, it's going to flash the animation on and play it. But when you're farther away, it's going to show you the static image. And that distance is controlled by how many textures you have in memory. So you have a set amount of texture memory. When the texture memory is full, it degrades the quality of all of the textures and it stops playing the animations as far away. So the less texture quality, the less animations you have, the further away you'll be able to see them. But the more you have, the closer you have to be. In RTX, in some cases, you have to be right up on them if you're using HD. So how this works now, we have our smoker front on, and we're just going to set up a frame or frame. I think this should actually be frames. If I'm not mistaken, that was something that changed recently. So you want this to be frames. And then in here, you're going to do 0 frame, 1 frame. And that's just the count of these. So there's 23 frames, so I want to have 22 different ones because 0 counts. So 0 through 22, and that would be all of them. Now you can rearrange them to do custom stuff. So you could go 0, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 0, 3, 2, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. You can control this. So think of it as a dynamic GIF that you have the ability to reorganize those frames at will. So if you wanted to have some randomness or you wanted to stop at the end and play the same frame over and over 10 times, you would just do 1 10 times or 0 10 times. Or you want to try to loop it better, you could, maybe it's not loopable, so you go, instead of going 0 to 10 and then back to 0 because it doesn't loop, you go 0 to 10 and then 10 to 0, so that you play it and then you reverse play it. And for plants that works pretty well. That's an easy way to cheat on the plant side of it. You can really play with how you want that to be. There's a lot of options of what you can animate. I mean, you can animate everything, so any of them you can do. So you can see here, you can do all of the different texture types and indexes for each of them. So I'm not just animating red flower, I'm also animating the flower tulip white. So I'm otherwise the animation would overlap all the others. So you just have to make sure you keep that in mind when you're setting it up. Right here you do Atlas Title Variant 6 and Atlas Index 6. So what that's saying is when you look at the flower in the textures, which I don't have up, this will take a second because it's such a big file. But when you look at the flowers in the texture, there's a whole bunch of variants. So red flower and yellow flower are the only technical blocks, and then they're broken into variants and variations. So within the variants, you need to specify which variant you're animating, otherwise you'll get that popping effect. And I think a lot of people don't use animated blocks because they don't understand this one simple step. I know that I struggled with this a lot and it pushed me away from animated blocks for a long time. So right here you can see red flower 6 is flower tulip white, and so we would just define that in that flower. So we would say, let's get back to it, red flower, and we want to overwrite number 6, and you can see that they're the same uh, name, so that I'm making sure I'm matching up the right flower with the right flower. But this is what's controlling which of those variants and which index I'm actually animating within. So if you had 20 different types of blocks within one block, which is common, this gives you the ability to specify which block you're going to animate, which is critical to making this whole thing work. Now, you could do this with leaves. You can do this with the fire, the campfire, the torch fire. You could see just in this list of the ones that I have titled that I've done. So smoker, campfire. I've done grass in the past, sand, vines. The vines is fun to do. Tall grass, fern. You might as well do like the farmland and the wheat and anything else that you can think of that sounds fun to do. So that gives you an idea of how you do the process. It's simply just making a GIF into an atlas. You define the atlas, you define the frames of the atlas, and then you're going to it'll just play. Now, there is an option for how many frames a second to play, so you'll have to kind of mess with that to see what works for your animation. You can see right there where having that HD block causes problems, but you just have to work out performance-wise what works best for you. You can see here I'm not really taking a performance hit with having all of these on here. I don't think it really makes a big difference for the most part. We could drop outside really quick, and we could drop to where there's the actual flowers, and so you can see them out here. I said I was going to talk about this line. So this line wasn't there when I made all of these. Something's changed in some other setting I have that's caused that line to show up, and I haven't figured out what it is. It's kind of frustrating, but that's just kind of something you got to deal with. I made all of these, they looked perfect, and then an update happened in Minecraft, and all of a sudden some of them are off by a pixel. So that's frustrating. I just have to go back and crop, redo them through the that GIF, easy GIF, and just make sure that my 256 or 128 or 64, whatever you're doing, is properly the same. So there you go. That's how you do atlases. If you'd like more information on how to use the Easy GIF program or some of that stuff, I did another video for animated 3D items or animated textures for entities, and I show more of how to do that process and crop them out. So you could always check that out if you have more questions on the process. It's pretty much the same between entities and here you just don't use an atlas for the, and you use the atlas file, but you don't set it up in the atlas for the entities. So here you go, lots of fun stuff that you can do. Get out there, animate those leaves, and see what you can do. I am CyberAxe with Outlandishly Crafted, and this has been a guide on how to do animated blocks and atlases for Bedrock Minecraft Edition. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments below. If you'd like more guides, let me know which ones. I'm kind of running out of ideas. If you would like to help support me, you could pick up my games on Marketplace, Dragonfire Bedrock Edition and Dragonfire 2 Nations. Check out my website, Outlandishly Crafted. We do have a Patreon. We could always use the support to keep doing these things. If you have any other questions, like I said, or you need help, hit the Discord channels for Blockbench, Bedrock add-ons, or Bridge are good places to get help. And I'll see you next time. I'm CyberAxe with Outlandishly Crafted. Thank you for watching.